For those of you who don't know, on January 19th, Netflix released a Junji Ito animated series, which was based off of a few of his stories, one involving Soichi, one involving Tomie, actually two involving Soichi, and also an adaptation of the Floating Head story, Hanging Balloon, I think. And those who know me know that I love Junji Ito, but like the Crunchyroll Junji Ito collection, I hated this. Junji Ito Maniac, Japanese Tales of the Macabre is horrible. I wanted to like it. People on TikTok had been blowing up saying like, oh, you gotta watch it right now, it's so good. And immediately I was just off put. I don't like the animation. It feels very lazy. It feels very poorly made. When you're taking something like Junji Ito's source material, it's impossible to adapt it in a way that's meaningful, or that in a way that's visually appealing, or at least dreadful in the way that his drawing ability is. And it feels like they don't even make an attempt to make the illustrations look disturbing. I've seen disturbing stuff in anime before. All of this feels like worse than fan-made like flash animation. They always use this cloudy like texture on everything that's supposed to be scary. It reminds me of like in Chowder, how there's the texture on his clothes that stay stationary as he moves around. It feels like that, and it's just lazy. Like, and they didn't really choose the best stories to adapt for the most part. I feel like for people that don't read Junji Ito, like a lot of these stories would give people a not as amazing impression of him as they could have. And even the ones that I like came out just eh. The Whispering Woman one was one of my favorites in the series. It was done pretty well, but it does not feel the same as when you see the illustrations. Junji Ito's work, I feel like, never looks good colorized. That's a shame, because every time I open one of his books, they colorize one of the main artworks from it. But I just think that it's something that's unadaptable. Like, I've seen live action film of Junji Ito's work. I've seen anime series of it now. The only adaptation I'd seen that I could say is good, and I don't even consider this really an adaptation, is when people do dramatic readings over the manga panels, which is how I actually experienced some of the stories for the first time. But yeah, the laziness in the animation just drives me wild, because sometimes we're given still frames that are just kind of panning around, and it's like the point of making this a series was that it's animated and not a still image like the manga. I usually try not to bash CGI use in anime. A lot of modern anime uses a ton of it, and sometimes I can totally ignore it, and sometimes it's too bad. Being one of the most popular Junji Ito stories of all time, being entirely CG all the time was just ugly. And not ugly in a scary way like it's supposed to be, but just ugly as in it takes me out of it. I did not enjoy that at all. There's a really good video on why Junji Ito's work is so scary, aside from how detailed and gruesome they are. It's the fact that the suspense waits on you as an interactive person turning the page to the dramatic illustration. When watching it happen, it's just not as shocking. Another instance of terrible CGI that just was glaring for me was in the Toontown one, when the main guy has a little daydream of this hand climbing out of the well. It is some of the worst CG I've seen in anime of all time. And I'm not trying to be dramatic. When you get to it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Like, we're talking 1999 CGI at best. Another one was when there's the giant creature that washes up on the beach and they cut it open, and we get this awful physics simulation of all the bodies coming out. I know that would have been difficult to draw, but why do it at all if you're gonna do it this poorly? After watching all of it, I looked back at some of the manga and was just blown away by how good it was. I had forgotten how amazing the illustrations originally were because of how bad the illustrations were in the animated series. There is very, very little I enjoyed about watching this, and I was very disappointed, and I have slightly higher hopes for the Uzumaki adaptation, but I honestly don't expect much. If this is your introduction to Junji Ito, I hope it doesn't put you off from reading it, because he's a lot better than that. But yeah, that's just how I felt while watching it. It felt like a chore, which was sad because I love reading all of his works. But anyways, that's how I felt about the show. Let me know what you thought. If you like discussing Junji Ito or other manga stuff, you can jump in my Discord server. I'm always open to talking about anime stuff. And go to yonaha.net if you like my sweatshirt, hoodie, Oops. But anyways, thank you for watching.